Welcome to the International Rusty Blackbird Working Group's 2020 Symposium, held in conjunction with the Wildlife Society's 27th Annual Conference. And welcome to this presentation on the coastal route, Rusty Blackbird migration east of the Appalachians. My name is Carol Foss, and I've been involved in Rusty Blackbird research since 2009. I'd like to begin by acknowledging my co-authors, Pascal Cote, Camille Béguin-Machan, François Gagnon, and Junior Tremblay of the Tadoussac Bird Observatoire in Quebec, and Patricia Woner, Master Bander for our New England Rusty Blackbird project. The overall breeding and wintering ranges for rusty blackbirds at the species level have been known for some decades. Research into their migratory connectivity at the population level, however, has been much more recent. In 2010, Keith Hobson and colleagues published a paper comparing ratios of stable hydrogen isotopes in feathers collected from rusty blackbirds wintering in the Mississippi Alluvial Valley and on the Atlantic coastal plain during 2005 to 2009. They also sampled feathers from museum specimens collected in the same regions from 1879 to 1990. Their analyses indicated that wintering populations in the Mississippi Alluvial Valley originated from breeding areas in the western and central boreal forest, and those on the Atlantic coastal plain originated from the eastern boreal forest. Today's presentation explores migratory routes of rusty blackbirds that were outfitted with low-tech nanotags at the Tadoussac Bird Observatory during fall migrations of 2017, 18, and 19, and at nesting sites in northern New England during the 2019 breeding season. Individuals migrating through Tadoussac originate from breeding populations on the Labrador Peninsula east of the Saguenay River. Tags deployed in New England had burst intervals of approximately 5.9 and 8.9 seconds. With one exception, tags deployed at Tadoussac had longer burst intervals ranging from 13 to 19.9 seconds. A local array of receiving stations along the St. Lawrence River enables determination of departure times from the local area. In the following analysis, I have included only individuals that were detected as far south as the United States. Of 52 rusty blackbirds tagged at Tadoussac, 21 were detected on fall migration and 3 the following spring, including 2 that were never detected during fall migration. Of the 9 tagged New England birds, 8 were detected during fall migration, and 7 were detected the following spring, including 4 that were relocated at 2020 nest sites. 1 of the 4 was never detected during migration in either direction. As this map shows, New England birds followed a relatively narrow path southward, and several were last detected in South Carolina and Georgia. The Tadoussac birds followed much more diverse routes south. One of these individuals was detected in South Carolina, while the others were last detected in the mid-Atlantic states. The one New England male, for which we have multiple detections in both migration seasons, took a fairly coastal route south in the fall and a more inland route north in the spring. The one female, for which we have similar data, traveled fairly close to the coast in both directions. In the coming years, we hope to learn whether or not this is a consistent route difference between males and females. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Tadoussac data is the number of individuals with a substantial time gap between the last detection in the St. Lawrence Valley and the first detection in the United States. These birds appear to be spending time in stopover areas at fairly northern latitudes. Jay Wright, who is also presenting in this symposium, has documented similar stopover behavior in western populations of rusty blackbirds, although at more southern latitudes. We can gain some insight on this stopover behavior from a GPS-tagged male from our New England breeding population. Following the 2018 breeding season, this individual traveled roughly 10 kilometers north of its nest site and remained in New Hampshire's northernmost township until early October. During that time, he traveled within an area of more than 100 square kilometers, visiting beaver flowages in various stages of their cycle, roadside ditches, and seepage areas on both forested and regenerating slopes. The Northeast Motus collaboration is in the process of adding 50 Motus receiving stations in the New England states over the next 3 years. So once this network is up and running, we'll be able to learn much more about migration and stopover behavior of eastern rusty blackbirds. There are several major points I'd like to make in closing. The Motus wildlife tracking system has revolutionized our ability to study the migratory connectivity of rusty blackbirds, among many other songbird species. Individuals from the eastern Labrador breeding population travel south over a variety of both coastal and inland routes after passing Tadoussac. A significant number of the Labrador migrants are spending time at as yet unidentified stopover areas, presumably in southern Quebec or the northeastern United States. Upcoming installation of inland Motus receiving stations in New England will help to clarify migration routes and stopover areas of northeastern rusty blackbirds. A network of inland receiving stations on the southeastern coastal plain would enable us to learn more about where these birds are spending the winter and would greatly facilitate migration connectivity studies of these birds. I'd like to acknowledge the sponsoring organizations, funding sources, cooperating landowners, and field crews without whom this work would not have been possible. Before closing, I'd like to call your attention to a Rusty Blackbird workshop that the working group will be holding on October 7th and 9th, beginning at noon each day. We enthusiastically invite you to join us for a review of what is currently known about the species' status, threats, and limiting factors, information gaps, and priorities for future attention. These discussions will support development of the first range-wide conservation plan for rusty blackbirds. I would also like to announce that we'll be holding live office hours tomorrow, Friday, October 2nd, from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, followed at 4 o'clock by a panel discussion with all the presenters in this symposium. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you tomorrow.